Now, when dealing with the concept of ceremonial magic, again, I must make note on here in terms of this platform. I am not in the business of invocation. I am not in the business of conjuring or incantations when it comes to the practice of drawing the circle of the magician. As to many reports out there in teaching to these things when it comes to ceremonial magic, I am not a ceremonial magician to any of that shit. In fact, when you come to the place of realizing that everything in ceremony is meant to be an extension of your own consciousness, you're not going to be fucking around with any of those things in terms of practice. And see, here with all of this, when you realize that you yourself are the ritual in light of becoming, if doing an actual ritual to things, which all of that encompasses, assists you in actualizing what is there as a focal point, by all means you can do that. But never, under no uncertain terms, am I going to advocate the practice of invocation, the practice of conjuring, and doing incantations in context to spirits, entities, alien factions, or whatever the fuck else people think they're going to be able to control in terms of ceremonial magic. And in order to see past all of these things, realize again that all is within. All that you actualize here is from within your own spirit, and must be awakened and come into a place of maturity in terms of this ritual and what it is really all about in terms of protocol. And see the goal within the fulcrum, as you and your life are the ritual that is ever unfolding. And sure, the flux of life and what can happen also indicates that we are not always going to be in the fulcrum of ritual. But the more you do this, the more powerful it becomes. The goal of where I have been taking things over the years is again to bring things back to the original teaching, and is to remind the listener and those that have been initiated that again, you yourself have your own eternal spirit that is there within the core in context of actualizing the true power of the circle of the magician in connection to the higher force and the core of who you are in terms of grid works of consciousness that are beyond all of this other fucking bullshit that people come into in terms of the occult. I'm talking about grid works of consciousness when it comes to sound, energy, frequency, and vibration, far beyond the lockdown equation, let alone anything that is going to fuel line the upper and lower astral grid works in terms of spirits. What we are working with is sound, consciousness, energy, frequency, and vibration, not spirits.
Okay, so we're here, Blue Pearl Oracle right here. We are, I haven't done a podcast for quite a while. I've just been doing the little car videos, but I guess we're going to do a little segment here. It's an open segment tonight. So we're going to get into a few things that are the arts of gnosis, maybe a few things about what's going on the planet, kind of try to stay away from that, stuff because it is a circus. And then maybe get into some astrology, some runes, astropsychology, even maybe getting into tarot. I mean, we can get into any of these arts of gnosis, guys. Want to introduce, first of all, Tala, the beautiful Tala. She has so many gifts.
Hi, guys.
Yeah, so many gifts. And she's really, she's on hyperdrive with this stuff, so it's fantastic. And then we have
passion.
Yes, then we have Jungle here. That's his handle here. Yeah, Jungle, the yellow dragon lineage. So yeah. There he is. And he is a martial artist. He studies martial arts, and he's also on this path work, killing it out there with what he's doing, making life changes that are necessary at the moment to get where we need to go.
Yeah, that was me trying to make a rainbow out of my little hand gesture right there. Yeah,
exactly. So getting into these current energies, how Tala, what are you experiencing with this conjunction with Uranus, and then with Mars coming in on the party this last week? And then with that conjunction with North Node, and then that's all been square in the Saturn aspect at 5 degrees. So what have you been feeling? What's been going on alchemically with you? I mean, you're in Australia, obviously, so it's another part of the world. But What's been happening inside you, and what have you been observing?
Well, it's been a really intense few weeks. Internally, I've found it's been quite introspective. I feel like I'm starting a new cycle in my life due to lots of unexpected events. In my external situation, it's set me up on a new trajectory. So it's been great. I feel quite energized. I've been doing a lot of qigong and cold showers, which is fun in the middle of winter here. And yeah, lots of exercise. I'm feeling quite energized and yeah, it's been good in that way, but also having to let go of a lot of things that no longer serve me, relationships, certain, patterns, really observing those things within myself. And it's been a bit of a roller coaster. There's been times where the external stimuli and situations has been quite challenging, and I've really had to work hard to maintain my center. And yeah, that's why I've been doing things like qigong.
Any, like, very unpredictable events take place just out of the blue, just stuff just popping up like you never saw it coming, or it's like, wow, that just happened?
Oh, incredibly so. Yeah, some really unexpected things. Yeah, it's been unbelievable. Yeah, quite shocking, actually. So yeah, that's that Uranian energy.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I was telling Tala about like certain unexpected people popping up into my life, and I think I told you as well, Mr. Oracle. And yeah, I mean, they're not very positive people to be in my life that I want in my life, but they're popping up. And obviously there's that correspondence there. What is inside of me that is bringing those people into my reality field. And
so look at it like this, man. It's not necessarily what you're corresponding totally.
Sure, yeah.
It's what's being tested. So right. It's revelation that's actually being tested by the universe in context to your, where your awareness is, where your consciousness is wielding, and then, being able to, work with those energies, So the correspondence is different sometimes. It doesn't always come so it doesn't always come from your own spindle.
I know, we always talk about this, how not everything is,
right.
Not everything is a reflection of you and stuff like that. I agree. But it's interesting. It's hard to not kind of get into that mindset, because you always think, as within, as without, So it's like kind of hard not to think that way. But go ahead and continue with what you were saying.
It's always in play. So, these unpredictable events have been taking place. I had some major ones hit me, and I know it's been going on all over, in people's lives. And this is the issue, though, is how do we navigate the situation when it comes up, when it presents itself? This is the challenge of this transit. When something's presenting itself, when something's coming into your field and you didn't expect it, okay? So it's a tower moment. It's a lightning strike. And so it creates distortion. It creates, havoc. It creates chaos when it comes in, because it's not in the norm of what we're feeling or what we're flowing with. It's out of norm and it becomes uncomfortable. So it pulls us into the uncomfortable zone. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. No, definitely.
And then we have to be able to navigate the consciousness within that, and then we can also see what's getting triggered that we need to work on. What do you think? What do you think, Tala?
Yeah, for sure. It's like you have to come back to center all the time. It's so easy to get swept up, and we have to have these tools in our tool basket that we can apply to bring us back to ourselves and back to that peace and presence of being in the moment, and having that reflection time as well to actually observe what's going on in the external and making sense of it. But yeah, being able to shield ourselves in a way as well, so we're not getting overly overwhelmed by these situations, and we're able to, even if it's chaos all around us, we can still have those moments of peace and stillness within. So that's where systems of gnosis can be great, because we can look at these different systems to get more knowledge of what's actually going on, like the astrology, or doing physical practices to heal the body, to change our state of mind, to shift our consciousness into something that's more balanced and in alignment with the higher force, because I think that's where we want to get back to. Hey, back to our center, back to the higher force, remembering who we are, why we're here, all these reasons for this journey, and realizing that it all passes, all these chaotic situations, it's ephemera. So we just have to remember that. Keep that connection.
Yeah, it's weird because I don't know, this might be a little disconnected from what you're saying, but everything's interconnected at the same time. So I've been doing a lot of networking and synchronicities. Remember about a few weeks ago, the synchronicities were like off the charts. Like, I don't know, like if it was last week or it's still going on, but for me, that's definitely been the case. And the networking has just pretty much reached the all-time high. And then it just has now reached the point where I'm like, I need to pull back. I'm like getting exhausted from it. But so where am I going with this is that I started meeting people that were, like very powerful, very influential, and I could easily get into their world and make things happen. And but then it's like that kind of, I don't really want to make this all about me, but I'm saying like that type of power is very alluring and tempting, and then I can that surely was a test for me to bring myself back to my center. If to relate it back to what you were saying, Tala, bringing it back to your center, and there was just a lot of temptation going on, and I think I needed to like pull myself back from that networking and then focus more on my health and all that type of
Right.
stuff.
So this is the Aquarius in 11th gate. This is all the networking. It's all relationships coming into your, networking and putting things together, and then being able to have the awareness of what we want to step into, or what we want to work with, and what we don't. Because ultimately, we have to control the flow of the energy within ourselves. So, and that's the challenge of the Jedi, right? The Jedi energy, being able to work with it is what? Balance and harmony, right? And then being able to control the flow of energy within you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that in martial arts is the same thing. You've got to be able to have balance and then control the energy flow within you, be in your center, and I think more and more and more as the seething begins to happen more on the planet, we know the boiling is going to continue, and we know it's going to ramp up. But the more the seething process takes place and the burning out of the parasite, the more we're going to have balance, harmony, and we're going to have to be able to operate in that Libra gate, because, and that's all about keeping your heart as light as a feather. That's all about keeping in a space where you're not getting pulled by the pendulum swing.
I could feel it.
Yeah. So this is how we navigate things. This is how we're looking at it in context to how it's affecting us internally, because as within, as without is always in place. So what's affecting us internally, and we get pulled into those cauldrons, that are poisonous places at times. We have to be able to what? We've got to be able to recognize it. Recognize the indifference within yourself. I mean, that is the state of mind. That is the first thing that you have to be able to do. And it is the hardest at times. When situations and circumstances come up that are uncomfortable, that you get pulled into. And so when you get pulled by it, right, you feel that pull, that indifference within yourself. The first key is to recognize it.
Right. That's what happened. Yeah, that's
to understand what's happening, and not get caught in the drama of the moment, of that time frame, that small space of time that's coming in like a point that's coming into stride.
Right.
And
I guess that's what
you have to be ready, you have to be ready to be able to navigate anything at any moment.
Right. Yeah. I guess that's
discernment.
Yeah. And that's doing the work. That's putting yourself in a position where, you are doing that in the small things. being faithful in the small things in your life. And those small things then turn into bigger things. And so it starts to get, momentum starts to happen, and you start to expand, because the small things are actually the most important things to be faithful in. Because once we are working with those little things and we're mastering those aspects, it's no different. I mean, it's just on a bigger scale of energy. It's the same principle, that you're working with.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, what do you think?
Yeah. The more we're able to cultivate that energy too, I find with my daily practices, even if I'm busy, I'll say to myself, just do 5 minutes and just take that time out to get back to my center, to breathe, maybe do some breath work, movement stuff, qigong, or do the circle or whatever it is. And just, say 5 minutes, but it usually ends up being much longer anyway, because once you get into that state and you connect with yourself again, it's one of the most beautiful things you can experience. And it takes practice and it takes work, but the more we do that, the more we're able to apply that to, say, these challenging situations where you might be immersed in chaos. You can just take a few breaths and just reconnect and just come back to yourself, even though that's going on, and have that discernment to see what these energies are and what is the lesson here. What do I want in my life? What don't I want? And we're able to make a better boundary with these things as well, to not allow them to, put us into a state of, kind of chaos and entropy and confusion. We can still be, on our path and connected despite all the craziness. I know for sure in my life I've had a lot of really intense experiences, and it's been through those experiences that I've learned to do that. So I'm grateful that I've had these really challenging, sometimes very tragic situations, because it's enabled me to practice that art. So when something smaller comes up, it's not as challenging. Not to say that I don't still get swept up in the chaos sometimes, but I can pull myself out of it quicker than, say, 10 years ago due to these practices. So yeah, it definitely helps.
Yeah, and going back to what exactly, just to tie my thing in there real quick, it can come in the form of temptation. And then, like, if you really know yourself, you're going to be able to say, hey, that's not good for me. I'm going to be able to, I can pull myself back from that. And that's what happened with me as well, like with the whole meeting some nefarious individuals that were trying to, recruit me, basically. And I had to be like, yeah, this is really interesting. And this is I'm very curious about what they're into, the underworld and all that type of stuff. But, and, there's this drive for me to want to know what is going on in the underworld. Obviously, all of us share that. But then, like, that could be a trap, and I had to pull myself back. And that has to be,
it's about
coincides.
Gauging the energies. That's the deal there. So we have to be able to have the discernment to gauge the energies that are presenting themselves. You got to test that energy, man. If that's the key to it. And it's easy to get caught in being in the church realm. People would get caught in these meetings. So there were these gatherings, right? And so they'd have thousands of people show up to these big gatherings. And so then these so-called prophets and apostles and preachers and stuff had a lot of charisma, and I think they're dark, they're dark overlords as far as I'm concerned, but they're very dark. Man. I mean, when you see them in action, man, you realize that they're using the energy force in reverse. It's just, man.
Yeah, it's weird.
And they're harvesting energy. Yeah,
the masses worked up. I mean, like in this frenzy.
Yeah.
With this energy, and then just drop the hammer on them, man. It's harvest that shit out. And this is the deal with when malevolent things try to come in and present themselves as being benevolent. That's where that discernment has to happen, because you got to remember, man, most things that are operating here on this planet are unreversals and inversions.
Yeah, like you said, they can come across benevolent, and that's the whole thing. That's like they're very smooth and they're very convincing and influential. But once you pierce through that, it's like a fucking monster.
Yeah, Right. So that's where, but being able to, what Tala was talking about is that be able to stop, pull back, breathe, and center. This is the path of the hermit, right? And this is where, someone who's mastering thought and emotion at any given time, no matter what's going on in the external circumstances, can go internally and come into the 0 point.
Yeah, for sure. And we can learn from that deconstructive process as well of saying, this is not what I want. This is a lie, learning from these experiences what's not true and what is something you don't want. And the more you actually know nothing through that process, the more you begin to discover about yourself and go into that hermit mode, because you're an open book and you've got to really dig deep to get that knowledge from within. You're not looking to some false light, new age agenda to tell you what to do or how to behave, or some religion or all these organized systems that are there for mind control, basically, and energy harvesting. We have to come back into our own energy, and we have to discern even with ourselves and be really honest and go, well, something I thought was true a year ago, I don't see that as truth anymore because I've had new experiences to change my perception, but I'm cool with that because I've learned more from that experience via that deconstructive process. So yeah, none of us know everything and none of us are perfect, but the more we're open to learning and also, that discernment, seeing things for what they are and really questioning all these different things out there, because a lot of it is distorted, unfortunately.
Yes.
Even, with partial truths in there that might be really valid and helpful, but then it gets twisted. So the new age is full of that, for example.
Totally.
So why is it everybody's at each other's throats now? Even, I don't know if we want to talk about that at all, like in terms of within the community, our community, or if it's outside of us. But is there anything to that?
I mean, the planet's boiling. I mean, it's seething. So, so we're everyone's feeling uncomfortable inside on an unconscious, subconscious level, and it's challenging their position on, with this shit, man. This is what has to happen, right? Things have to be challenged. The human race needs to be challenged on their position of being inert and stagnant, and in this position where they are, where they're just zombies walking around, and they have to be. Human race has to be challenged to come up into a higher consciousness, right?
Yeah, and go through that alchemical fire, that transmutation process that is quite intense, and a lot comes up. We have to process. We have to see things for what they are. We have to look at our shadow, and for some people, there's a lot of cognitive dissonance there, but that's too much. So they'll lash out at others.
Right.
Yeah.
What I mean, of course, we know like technology itself is not like a good or bad thing. It's just a tool, just like everything else. But like there is this aspect that leads to this like, meaninglessness and this rotting, and we're just depending on this thing to like stimulate us. So I just feel like there's a lot of that. Like you said, people need to be challenged to wake up out of that, or to,
look,
make the line up.
It's not going to stop.
This
isn't going to stop.
No, it's just going to get worse. It's just going to keep going and going.
We'll have, there'll be spaces of reprieve where, where we can integrate. But look, this thing's going to continue and get deeper.
Yeah.
Because, this realm, we didn't incarnate in this realm just do this bullshit.
No.
We incarnated in this realm for a purpose, and there's many purposes, and so it's like you start to realize that so did a lot of other people in this realm that aren't awake yet. So the whole process, one of the things that happened to me, I'm going to just say this real quick. The other day was I was driving and, I'd just been on to the higher force on him, man. I'm like, man, I haven't like had a big boom moment for a while. I'm like, what's going on? Am I just integrating? What's happening? And so 2 days ago, I'm driving, and all of a sudden, it's just like the lightning bolt dropped inside. It struck, and all of a sudden, it was like there were all the grids in front of me on the planet, and it was like boom, and all the way around, underneath, back up through, back up into my heart core. So I actually connected with the planet on the grid system. And I just kept, all I could say was, running my codex, right? And then all I could say was, I just love the higher force. I just love the higher force. I just love the higher force. And that's all I could get out, because it was so intense. But, I was working on a, etheric level, and connecting to my central sun. And so in that aspect, it was just like, I realized something in the middle of that whole thing. It's so simple that, we're feeling all of this, all of these solar flares and all this energy in the photon belt and all of the stuff that's going on, that's bombarding the planet right now, right? On the external, right? But the most powerful weapon on this planet, besides that's powerful, is you.
Oh yeah.
When you're running, you're templating what you have, and you're awakening your junk DNA, they call it, inside of you, and the overlayers are being burned off, and you're actually connecting in to your true hardcore intelligence. That is a weapon against the dark ones. They fear this shit.
Yeah, they fear activation
Because that is that is what they're trying to keep the human race from entering into.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a quick encounter with that energy as well a few weeks ago, and it was astoundingly beautiful. I was really in my center. I was with a group of other women, and we were doing healing that day, and my friend and I both connected into this energy, and it felt like we were going into the core of the earth, the planetary Templar or something like that, and then sending out this energy from the core of the earth through us and through the grids. And we'd been doing a lot of work with healing the ancestral timeline, especially on the women's side, because it was all women there. This energy came through us, and it was so beautiful, but it was also so powerful. And I got the message, this is happening. This is real. And when this really lights up for all of us, it's unstoppable. It's absolutely phenomenal. And it was just a glimpse, but it reminded me of our potential and where we're going with all this. And I had a dream I've shared with both of you about maybe 12 months ago, in which I saw all these individuals all around the world, and they were connecting with one another, empowering each other, bringing this energy through. And we were lighting up this amazing clock, 12-piece clock. And it was like a code thing that was unlocking as we lit up, and all that energy was going into the core of the earth. All these light codes were coming through and activating the entire planetary grid work. And the energy just, it was explosive. It was one of the most profound, beautiful dreams I've ever had, and a confirmation of this work and what we're all doing and how we can actually inspire and ignite and light up each other. We have to do the work ourselves, but we all have pieces of the puzzle here to bring that online. That was the message I got.
Yeah, it's a powerful dream.
Jupiter is in Pisces, right, Paula?
Yeah, I've got Jupiter in Pisces, so I see a lot of visions for the world.
All your spaces happen in that 12th gate to the shamanic energy. Do you remember what house your Jupiter's in?
It's in the third house.
Oh, so you're in third house of Gemini. So, okay. So it's all about learning how to communicate that expansion. Just kind of like.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and I have these dreams sometimes where I just feel I have to share them, because they're not just my own dreams. I'll have my own personal dreams, and then I'll have these nights where I have this visionary dream, and it's like watching a movie that I'm part of, and I remember every little bit, every detail photographically is still in my mind, even years later. And it's usually about a message for humanity. It's not my personal stuff. I have separate dreams about that are different. But yeah, it has a very certain distinct feeling. And yeah, it's been really profound, some of the dreams I've had lately. Yeah, and some of them have actually come true, which has been really cool to witness. Yeah.
When that happens, man, it's like holy,
Yeah.
it's like
Holy moly.
like
Yeah.
deja vu. You're just like going, man, I know like oh, this is my dream. Wait,
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's happening?
That's definitely happened to me a few times for sure.
Mm.
And doing the work, it's like weird that I'm like placed in a position at the barbershop, as both of you know, like that I'm confronting these individuals that are in these like that are operating the machinery, the like the managerial class or whatever of society, and they're in high positions and corporations and everything, and I'm like able to like communicate across the board in various subjects, various industries, if you will, and talk about whatever it may be, conspiracy or just dropping seeds, you know, like, and seeing their mind, you know, ticking, thinking about it, and then having a cordial conversation about it. It's really, really cool. And I think that's part of it, part of doing the work, but I'm not trying to like pressure myself into like trying to wake people up. It's just happening because I'm there. You know what I mean? But it's that activation. I feel like something's happening when I'm actually speaking to these individuals, and then we have a fruitful conversation, and we both kind of walk out of the conversation very like fulfilled, if you will.
Wonderful.
yeah, well, that's the whole key, man. Is you know, as you go, you speak truth. You know, and so you know, we're all in the system, you know, or you know, in the system, but we're not of it. So
Right.
you know, so we're here, you know, to help drop those seeds, you know, and as we go, we're doing that. You know, we're connecting, we're releasing truth, right? So you know, you become a force, you know,
And yeah,
you know, that is moving through, you know, through the bullshit, cutting through it like a knife, you know, and that creates a lot of ripples in the pond. You know, I mean, that's that's energy, and it's going contrary to the you know to the energy that's on the planet. So it's just kind of like you know everybody's in these reversals and inversions, and so when you're working the opposite way, it's like sometimes it's like walking through mud. You kind of feel that, you know, it's like
yeah.
in there, and the energies can be so heavy in a place. And
And I just,
oh man, this shit needs to be cleared out, you know.
I just wanted to
It's
add
nice.
that actually, like, you're not like acting like I am the chosen one. I have to do this for everyone. No, it's not. It's just natural, you know. Like, you
Yeah.
know, just to clarify for those that are listening. Obviously, you're
Yeah,
not.
it's just all
You're not
about
for like,
just
you know,
being who you are. That's it, you know.
you're just being yourself.
God, I used to like I literally
And we all have this potential
yeah.
And we all have this potential. Exactly. Yes.
to be in our highest potential, or to work towards it at least.
Yeah.
If that's our soul life purpose, you know, to step up into our full potential, and then we're going to create the ripples in the world, because that energy, we become like generators or transmitters, or receivers
Mhm.
that can reharmonize the planetary grid through us being empowered and being connected and being in our purpose. That inspires, that creates change, like for the better. But it's the old cliche, it comes from within. It's so true.
Yeah, I feel like that's true humanitarianism. If you really want to talk about humanitarianism, that is what it means to me. Is like connecting first within, and then you can't care about other people, right? If you don't care about yourself, and you gotta have that. If you're activated and you're doing that type of work, then you're obviously that shows how much you love yourself in order to do that, because you wouldn't be able to give and pour out, you know, all the gifts that you have if you weren't fulfilled with inside of yourself, I think.
Yeah, you know, I mean, we can't be an angry person with this path work.
Yeah.
You know, and have this chip on our shoulder to humanity, because you know we do have to find love and passion for this planet and for the people on it. It's part of the work. you know, and I know a lot of people, you know, they, you know, it's maybe difficult for them to do that, but you know, it is about, you know, coming into a space of loving yourself and bringing yourself into the best position that you can be in at that moment, best version of yourself, and then just sharing that with the world. I mean, that's, you know, I remember the days, my Christian days, where I'd go and you know, just preach to people, not like preach, but like, you know, just talk to people. And and my approach was, I was not going to, you know, try to shove something down the throat. I was going to try to connect with them,
Definitely.
and then you know, help them. And that's always been my focus with people, you know. So I think we have to have that attitude coming into this, you know, because it's easily to get in that angry attitude with the world because it's so fucked up, you know, and just to say, you know, well, these people don't give a shit. They don't care. There's just a bunch of swine, you know. And I know we don't want to cast our pearls before swine, but again, you know, it is about being able to stand in your own true power and not break your frame in the midst of this, right? I mean, that's the deal, isn't it? Not breaking who you are or conforming to what that is, so you can fit in or just not, you know, cause any problems.
It's such a fine line. Yeah, like you don't want to disrespect people outright. I mean, it's such a fine line between standing your ground and saying, no, I'm not fucking doing that. But you can say that, but you're not, that's different than going out and disrespecting people. Cause like, you're not hurting anybody but yourself when you do that. Right. So, I don't know if that ties into what you're saying, but sort of.
Yeah.
And the key of what you're saying there, Rodney, is about the passion. Like reconnecting back to the passion, the ignition. We can have moments of, you know, divine rage or catharsis where we enable that to get burnt up and we work with it, but we've got to make that a ritual. We've got to go into that with our awareness and actually, you know, allow it to come out instead of just projecting and being lost in that resentment or that anger, that frustration. Actually make time to purge it out. Like, you know, there's different, you know, catharsis kind of actions you can do, moving, breathing, screaming, you know, doing stuff consciously to actually release some of that energy, because the world can be really frustrating. People can be very ignorant. It can be very challenging sometimes. So if we can allow that energy to be purged and then allow the passion to come back in, which is being in alignment with what we love, doing what's true to us, you know, being on our path with our purpose. We're able to navigate a little bit easier, I think. Yeah,
like, I mean, doesn't it tie back to, you could ask yourself, do you have a hobby? Do you have a vocation? And then start from there, I think, in order to tap into your gifts.
You know, I want to talk about this idea of moving energy. I mean, this is imperative to this path work. It's a big key. And, you know, and so, you know, we have to tap into these methods of alchemy to, you know, to move the energy out, you know, to get things flowing, right? I mean, that's part of the process. So when you feel like you're getting bunched up, you know, or things are getting buried because of, you know, the anger or frustration or whatever it is that's trying to dominate your, you know, your system, you know, that's where, you know, these methods are imperative to use. Screaming, breathing, you know, taking 30 deep breaths and hold a minute, you know, and then release it. And then, you know, and then feel back to that center, you know, because holding that in and keeping that there and hanging on to it is not healthy.
So no.
Mm-mm.
You know, that can make you sick. You know, so anybody doing this path work, listen, I mean, if you're doing this path work, you need to be moving energy on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, and to remind ourselves, the traumas are stuck within our bodies. So you have to. If you're not doing it, then you're not healing the traumas, like you're saying.
Yeah, they got to be transformed, man. Things just can't stay the same. You know, and so as we're burning out the parasitical consciousness, you know, we're also grabbing a hold of the alignment and bringing things back to center within ourselves. So there's a lot of things going on at one time. It's multidimensional. So there's all of these things that are taking place, you know, on the solar spiral, on the galactic spiral here in Midgard, you know, and so you've got all of these things that are taking place with your energy system, you know, and so you got to be able to recognize where things are coming from, where they're being routed out, and how you're actually dealing with moving the energy out so you can create that space of true harmony and balance within yourself. And that is the work. That is the work. And then when things aren't going right, when things are challenging you, that's when you got to level your practice up, you know, and bring things into the next place. You've got to meet that energy, and then you've got to transcend it. So you're pulling it back into your heart space, running it through your heart core intelligence, and transmuting the energy into something you can actually use.
Yeah.
That's what the wizard is.
That transmutation process. Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll definitely feel it, you know, moving the energies, doing martial arts, Neigong, Qigong, all that, you know, that's a physical process.
That's another form of being able to move the energy. I mean, there's all different ways you can do it, you know.
Yes, different ways, yeah.
And you know, and the other thing that you have to watch here is distraction.
Yeah.
Distraction will present itself in a way that it looks really good. And almost like, oh, you need a break anyway, man. You know, you don't need to pull on this one so hard.
I'm definitely guilty of that.
Thoughts come in your mind, man. You know, you deserve a week off, man. Just, you know, or 2 weeks or whatever. And I'm not saying we don't have to pull back. I'm saying that, you know, you got to know where the voice is coming from. And that's understanding who you are and knowing when the higher force is actually speaking to you within you. There's a big difference with this, see? And this is part of the discernment of knowing who you are as well. What do you think about that, Tala?
Oh, for sure. Because, we'll all get that at times, at moments of distraction. And the thing is about a parasite, on a more, you know, universal cosmic level with this parasitic energy, the more you begin to detox and cleanse from a parasite, you can often feel worse before you feel better. So they call it a Herx reaction, and things will start to kick up and try and get you off kilter, or, you know, lose your balance within that process, because you might actually feel really, really terrible for a while there. And that can allow us to want to go to these outlets of distraction that is pulling us off our path. And look, I'm guilty of it as much as everybody else, you know, procrastination, distraction. And then I've been really aware of it lately and going, okay, I've been doing this. I'm going to pull myself back to what do I need to be doing? What am I connected to here? You know, and then just have that moment of realization in the moment about how I'm using my time and what I'm actually doing with it. Because it's really important, because that parasitic energy is always going to want to try and bring you back and feed off you. So we need to do everything we can to just stay focused, which is one of the greatest challenges, I think, in this path work.
Yeah, it's like we're always looking for a way to drug ourselves, you know. Everything's a drug.
Exactly. Yeah.
Dopamine. And that's the other thing, man. You know, take it to the physical alchemy aspect of it as well. I mean, you know, there are, you know, herbs and medicinals and you know, tinctures and all this stuff that we can also be working with, and I am, and I know you are, Tala, and I know you guys are. And so it's like, you know, you work with this physical aspect, you know, as well, because it's got to meet, you know, it's going to meet on the etheric aspect. They're going to meet. And when they do, there's a real connection that takes place, you know. So we need to be working with everything that we possibly can to, you know, bring this transformation.
Hear you nothing that I say.
Master, moving stones around is one thing. This is totally different.
No different. Only different in your mind. You must unlearn what you have learned.
All right, I'll give it a try.
No, try not. Do or do not. There is no try.
I can't. It's too big.
Size matters not. Look at me. Judge me by my size, do you? And where you should not. For my ally is the Force. And a powerful ally it is. Life creates it. Makes it grow. Its energy surrounds us and binds us. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. You must feel the Force around you. Here, between you, me, the tree, the rock, everywhere. Yes, even between the land and the ship.
You want the impossible. I don't believe it.
That is why you fail.
Jungle, if you had to say, I'm going to ask you a question, you answer it however you want. If you had to say, what is the actual purpose? What are we here to actually attain to? On an individual level and then on a collective level. What is it? Where is it that we want to, as a human race and on an individual level, manifest, bring forth into reality?
I feel like obviously evolve. Let's start there. Let's start evolving, and but in terms of manifestation, moving away from self-destructive tendencies and patterns, and obviously not destroying our own kind, and that's for starters, right? But that's just like that's a given, right? That should be a given,
right?
but a lot of people, again, we're talking to not just our own people. Maybe we are just, I don't know where this is being broadcasted, but for the majority out there, they're still stuck on that. I guess we're not really, talking to those individuals. Is your question directed at those individuals or the masses?
It's just in general, like for you
Yeah.
personally,
Yeah.
and it can be on a collective level as well. But for you personally, what is it that you want to see out of this path work that you're doing? What is it that you want to bring forth, inside of yourself into reality, into the manifestation?
Yeah, I've always envisioned that martial arts can heal the world, and like if everyone was doing that, then it would be like such a different world, because it's literally like the school of life, and you're teaching all the principles that we're talking about in a martial arts school, pretty much. I mean, self-respect, honor, self-discipline, discipline, virtue, humility, all those things, and it's just to remind ourselves what it is to be human. And but I'd like to see our true potential and like our higher cognitive senses and faculties kick in more, obviously, and through martial arts. I can only speak about that right now, and that comes in various forms, through other systems of gnosis, even, tarot, runes, I Ching, all those types of things. They help tap into the reservoir of the unconscious, and there's so much in there that we don't know about. Then it's like, I don't even know, if it's ever ending. What is the full potential of the human being? Like. It's so much. That's what keeps us in wonder, I think. But I know for sure I would like to see us tap into those higher faculties, and I definitely noticed that happening more recently. More of the telepathy and more of the synchronicity, obviously. But all those types of things are coming into play more frequently. Is that along the same lines of what you guys have been experiencing?
Yeah. What do you think, Tala? I'll propose the same question to you.
Well, yeah, for starters, I'd like to see everyone healed, like actually healed. So able to let go of the trauma, able to be, like I was saying, in your full potential, in alignment, in your path and purpose. And it's all about that Maslow's hierarchy of needs as well, that needs to be brought back in for everybody to a point, so we can attain that higher kind of level of consciousness. So yeah, having more practical solutions put into our society for, more, I know sustainable is a buzzword that's been kind of distorted, but there are solutions for everything that we've got out of symbiosis right now on this earth. There are solutions, things like free energy, things like permaculture. There's so many ways we could be living in a way more harmonious, clean, connected, aligned society. And right now it's because of this parasitic force, everything's distorted, everything's like out of balance, but all of that can be healed and corrected. And that's what I want to see, everybody in their power, because they have their needs met in one way, and then they're able to share their gifts with the world. And then we can move into higher levels of consciousness, like what you're talking about, Jungle, with telepathy, telekinesis, all these kind of things that right now we're not ready for, not in the certain consciousness that we're in collectively. But if we could move into a more aligned society, and not this green new agenda bullshit, that they're trying to put forth, that's once again another distortion, and they're playing on those codes, because yes, we do want a more ecologically, clean world, but they're doing it in a very distorted way. So we won't go into that. But
factions have to present their agendas because, the human race has chose not to run themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So,
exactly, we have to take the reins.
Yeah. So so they're gonna fill the vacuum if we let them.
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole point of it is, as an individual, we become sovereign. And, I know that word's thrown out a lot, but what does it actually fucking mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
Sovereign cosmic soul. What does that actually mean to people? To step into your true sovereignty as a cosmic being, cosmic soul, mastering human consciousness. That is, to me, is what we're doing, and coming into this place where the miasma and all the overlays and all the distortions are being burnt off, so that we actually come into that space where Neo finally figures out who he is, but he has to, but and then he dies.
Yeah.
See, right, and that's how they played on the codes with the resurrection and all those energies that they throw out on inversion. See, just give your soul to Jesus and give your power away to the entity, and then at the time when the harvest comes forth and the reapers and the angels bring forth with all the reaping that happens, right, then you'll be transformed into this beautiful, light, heavenly body. See?
And you don't have to do any of the work,
right? Because it's all been done for you. All you got to do is accept that sacrifice. See, and what it does is it turns the inversions back outside of yourself. And so you never come into a position where you know who you are because you've given that away.
Yeah.
Or take accountability for yourself, because you're passing it off to someone else. You're looking to an authority figure or a savior or someone else to do the work for you, instead of going, hey, it's all on me here. And what actions I take. And that's true sovereignty, isn't it? Like mastering thought and emotion, mastering the physical reality.
And you never find your potential.
Exactly.
Your gold. The gold is never uncovered, man, because the shadow dragon has it guarded.
Yeah.
It's guarded by the shadow dragon. See?
And it's depicted in all the movies. I mean, it's like, come on, people. Like, why are they showing us all this stuff?
Yeah, right.
Like
hidden in plain sight.
Yeah. The Hobbit, for instance.
Yeah, I remember, looking at, this last, speaking of the I Ching, it's interesting. I was watching this episode called it's the last episode called With the Umbrella Academy. I don't know if you guys ever caught that or not. But
some of it, yeah.
So after everything gets destroyed and they go through this portal, then they realize that the guy who's actually in the ship is an old one. He's got tentacles coming out and shit.
That's crazy.
And then and then they figured that and then time got reset into another dimension. And then when it was reset, right, they all came together and all their powers were gone. And so what did they do? Because they were given their powers, they didn't have to work for them. So when they got into the space, and it was the hex that they stepped into, and literally what happened is they all just gave up and went and lived their own lives and said, fuck it, we don't want to do this. Right? Wow. So then the camera runs down the trees and then into the city and up to the skyline, and at the top of the Black Tower sat the Dark Lord. And you know what the symbol was on the Dark Tower? Just guess. The I Ching symbol for heaven or force.
Wow. Amazing.
Heavenly force.
What's that?
Yeah, the I Ching symbol for heavenly force. Is that what you're saying?
Heaven or force, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, with the H next to it. Hagalos. Hagalos is the ninth rune of the fucking Elder Futhark. It is the ninth rune. So when you're dealing with all of the hail and all the storm and everything that's going on with the Hagalos energy, right? When you're dealing with it, when you're working with it, right? The chaos, all of the stuff, right? That's where you find your balance.
Yeah, for sure.
You go to the zero.
Yeah.
Boom. That's where you use Hagalos in your favor.
Yeah, that's that eye of the storm.
That's what the Dark Lords are doing. See?
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
What is this?
We need to do it too.
what is this motif in like the I don't know, I don't want to make this episode about movies, but Doctor Strange, where there's like, you know, the old one or the ancient one where she's pulling her energy from the dark side. What is that about? The motif there, like you're talking about how the
Yeah,
the
right.
dark-
You know, we see it with the Jedi and the Sith. We see it with, there's this, all this good and evil that's continually playing out on the paradox, but the real Jedi path is center.
Yeah.
It's balance, it's harmony. It's not, and being able to work with the energy force, and not being on one side or the other, in context. I mean, good and evil, when you look at it as a paradox. So we have to come into life and life force. And I think that, being caught into the paradox of good and evil can swing you both. It can really swing you,
Yeah, definitely. It makes me think of the cosmic theater. Like there's this notion that what the Illuminati are doing, or whatever you want to call it, or the dark ones are doing, they're just playing out this archetypal role of the cosmic plan, or whatever the overall plan of the cosmos is. Is there any validity to that, or no?
Oh, bullshit, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Because it's a distraction, and we have to again come back to our own center and do our own work, and in that process we break the back of all this shit. So that's how you do it, man. And Tala, I just want to throw this out at you, and I was talking with someone the other day about this. True shadow work can only be done with your connection to the higher force.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that?
That's so true. Yeah. Yeah. So when we're in that space, we're able to burn things up. We're able to transmute it. We're able to, let things go and be, we have that anchor with the higher force. We are the higher force when we're in alignment with it. And that shadow work, we can see it for what it is. If we don't have that connection, you can easily get lost in it and just stay in a perpetual, loop of healing and stuff like that. So it's really integral. And that's where, the circle of magician or certain meditation or whatever it is that grounds you and connects you to that is so important. Even going into nature, sitting under a tree, finding that energy with the higher force through the earth, and your connection with that, organic, selves, because we're so distracted by the whole simulacra of society, how it's all kind of simulated, and it's really pulled people away from that. So coming back to the higher force, it's the only way, really. In terms of archetypes, you mentioned archetypes, Jungle. I feel archetypal constructs, they're very universal, and we can have them there to empower us. Certain archetypes we can work with that resonates with us along our journey, these qualities or energies that we need, especially with animal totems and stuff like that. I find that really helpful, and that helps me ground to the higher force. And you'll know what you need to work with. Like synchronicity will come. The more you attune yourself to it, you go, okay, I need to work with the bear energy or the owl or whatever it is that resonates and has come to you. Often those animals will actually come to you and let you know and then say, hey, this is the medicine you need. This is what you need to be working with. And that's just another anchor to be connected to the higher force, because it's all parts of what's within us, really. Yeah.
No, definitely. No, there was a whole week or 2 weeks where like these animals were just coming to me. I was sending you guys the videos of that, like the beater. They will come to you, as you're saying.
Yeah, that's where you research. You go to research. You go look at it, integrate it. That's the process. I think a lot of people get distracted by shadow work itself.
Yeah,
because they get on the loops with shadow work, or they think they're doing the work.
Oh, for sure.
Progressing, but they're just really on the loop cycle. You know what I'm saying? And they're not actually burning anything out. They're not actually, burning out the parasitical consciousness, in the calcination process of the Athanor. They're actually just experiencing the loops in context to, their behaviors and what's presenting itself, and then letting those behaviors get on the loops.
Yeah.
And that's where the distraction pulls you into that. So and then somehow you tell yourself that, hey, I'm doing all this shadow work, but you actually never progress. You keep getting triggered by the same shit. It's like the Christian going to the altar every Sunday or every Wednesday and repenting for the same shit. It's the same thing. It's just different.
Yeah, that's huge.
So I think a lot of people are on that because they're not actually cultivating the relationship with the higher force.
Yeah, and it's much harder, especially if you're living in a metropolitan type of area where you're surrounded by this simulacra, like the simulation. The more artificial it is, the more distractions you're going to have, and then you're going to not be able to concentrate. So yeah, I mean, you definitely have to remove yourself from, connect with the higher force. In order to connect with the higher force, you have to connect with nature, and there's no way around that for sure. But easily, I know that
or make our life. Make our life like a ritual in a sense, or parts of it. So we're doing practical things within our day-to-day life that aligns us with the higher force. It might be just lighting a candle and sitting there with it and connecting in, or it could be going for a walk, or it could be, whatever that is, but doing it consciously with that purpose to make it part of that ritual to burn things up. So you can be on that trajectory with the higher force and not just stuck in the abyss, because there's a very fine line, I think, between shadow work and just getting lost in the abyss of doom, gloom, victimhood, all that type of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Right. And those are the loops.
We've got to create that divine ritual.
Those loops you get caught on, and so you keep repeating the same behaviors within yourself and then projecting those behaviors. I want to go back to a point, Tyler, you made about projection. So one of the things that I practice, or I do, and this is just what I do, is I actually use the ethers as my buffer. So what I mean by that is that when this like frustration is on human design is my non-self. Okay. So frustration is the challenge for me in human design, and it totally is. So when I start to feel that frustration build, that energy build within me, and it's trying to start to run my system, and then you get indifferent with yourself and then indifferent with other people and shorts, and all this starts to happen, right? Those are lower level forms of projection. Even though you're not actually spewing it out or vomiting over someone, you're still into that place where the frustration is running your system, even if you're holding it in and you're just projecting on, a very small level by ignoring people or just being indifferent with people or short or what, what I'm saying? And so one of the things I've had to learn in this process is to be able to go into the ethers, go out to the lake and scream into the ethers, and scream all that frustration out and release it until you feel it released. So if you need a 5 or 10 minute scream, sometimes, instead of projecting all the shit onto everyone, take it and use the ethers as your buffer, and scream that out. And then when you're done, take that energy and put it, disperse it and release it, because that is a process that I don't think people use enough. Or a technique that people don't use enough to be able to, move the energy out, that you're, that frustration or whatever it is, bitterness or whatever it is that, is your non-self. So that's why human design is really great, because it kind of teaches you certain aspects about yourself that you basically need to look at so that you can, formulate a method or a ritual that you can, propose and then step into.
What do you mean by human design exactly? Like, what are you referring to exactly?
Like
maybe
like your auric field, what your patterning of your auric field is, and then and then it gets into being able to look at the gates within yourself and how the planetary aspects are working with the gates within yourself.
Okay.
And then it works through all that process. It's like a human design.
Yeah, I see.
So each one of us have that in context to our planetary placings and gates. And then the system kind of brings you out into a space where it kind of tells you what your main aspect is, that's your non-self. It's not really who you are, but it's part of the process of what you need to overcome. So frustration is mine. You know, I'm just a what do they call that? A generator. I'm a generator.
Yeah. Okay. I'm a manifesting generator. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And working with the elements is really powerful. That's a great technique, whether it's the ether or the water or the fire. Or,
yes.
We can work with these energies because it's part of us. You know, there's a lot of new age shit about working with, you know, entities and stuff like that. We don't need that shit because we've got the elements, we've got the higher force, we've got our ancestors. You know, that's enough.
Yeah.
That's all we need. Yeah.
The talking, doing a talk with the fire. You know, just light a fire and talk to the fire. That's a shamanic practice, you know, and so you work with the fire elements that way, you know, or getting into the water and then allowing that consciousness of the water to reprogram you, you know, reprogram the water, you know, within yourself and then outside of yourself, you know, shamanic practice, working with all the air element, you know, these are all earth element. These are all shamanic practices, you know. Sitting under a tree can be incredibly healing.
I was going to say hugging a tree or sticking your head under a waterfall, you know.
Yeah, you know, any of those things where you're connecting with the elements, that's shamanic practice. That's what that is, you know, because everything in context to the shamanic aspect, everything has consciousness on some level. So, you know, so we're working with all this different consciousness and to, you know, to bring that practice into a place where we're leveling up our own awareness and choices to that awareness. And, you know, there's just so much that we can get into with, you know, being a shaman, you know. I mean, you know, they've kind of hijacked that shaman thing, don't you think? I mean, with the ayahuasca and, you know, this is what the shamans do. They help people on their trips.
New age,
You know, okay. You know, but that's what, when a person says what a shaman is, that's the first thing that pops in people's heads.
Yeah. And a lot of that goes back to the energy harvesting thing, the same old codes of organized religion and all that. It's very distorted and a bit of a distraction that's kind of changed people's perception and tainted that word. Even the word shaman has been kind of distorted through that process with a lot of the new age stuff. But this planetary magic, the elemental magic, is very real, and I've witnessed it firsthand in a group context where we spent the day working with the elements, a group of very beautiful conscious people. We all had our intention in alignment just to work with that elemental consciousness energy. And the first element we worked with was the air element, and it was a 40-degree day. I don't know what that is in your American temperature, but it's a very, very hot day, like stinking hot. And there was a woman there that played African drums, and she was playing a drumming song for the air element, and a breeze came through, and we all felt the breeze on our skin, and we're like, wow. And then the next thing we did was for the water element, and we went swimming. And there was one girl there that had never swum in her life. She was from Brazil and she lived in the mountains. She'd never swum, and she learned how to swim through this process. And we were all connecting in and allowing that water energy to heal and cleanse. And she had a connection with one of her ancestral spirits, Magi, which was like this water spirit that came through and taught her how to swim. And then we did the earth energy, and we lay on the earth and we started doing some trauma release therapy. And big clouds started to come in, and we're starting to hear thunder rumbling. It was like, wow, after this really blue sky, clear, hot day, all of a sudden these clouds are coming in. And then for fire, we made a gift for the fire. So we all put in different things. They call it despacho in South America. And we were putting in, you know, cacao and, you know, beautiful crystals and all these different gifts for the fire element. And we wrapped it up in paper. And when I went to put it in the fire, and we were all kind of singing to the fire, it burst into a giant storm. The moment I put that despacho, that gift, onto the flames, massive rain, lightning, thunder. It was just absolutely incredible. So, yeah, it just shows when we're connected and in alignment with our true selves and the earth and the elemental planetary magic, what we can actually do. We can even change the weather. It was really cool. Yeah. And it was one of the most beautiful experiences. Yeah. Yeah. To see that.
Absolutely.
This stuff is real, you know? Mm.
It is real. It is real.
Mm.
And that's, that's what, that's how powerful the mind is, and once you tap into that, into the alignment, and you come out of that, out of that wobble, and you pull yourself and click that into alignment, then you do have a form of mastery and power to work with planetary aspect there with that, and you can connect with the elements a lot easier. It's so easy, you just get right into it and just do it. I mean, I'm a Libra ascendant, and then I also, have 4 placings in Taurus. So Earth and air are really, really huge for me in context to what I work with, Capricorn South Node, and then getting into all my Taurus positions, which run through the 8th house. So you got all of this Earth and air energy being a Libra ascendant. So I work with air element pretty easy. It's like my go-to. I can go to it and boom, I'm right into it, So everybody has a certain element that's their like.
Yeah, mine would be wood, I feel like, or in the forest, I always love
right.
hiking.
So there's elements there that each one of us have that are a dominant element that we work with, and then the other ones then can come into position, on the pentagram, So it's kind of beautiful. I mean, working with the shamanic, being a shaman is not just, knowing things or seeing things, or, working with, ayahuasca, being a shaman is a daily practice, and being able to work with the elements of what we're made up of,
I mean,
anything else you guys want to get into that you have burning in your heart?
Well, in terms of that shamanic experience, a lot of it isn't going to be easy. If that's the path you want to take, it's like when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, and the teacher can be the life lessons and the things that will come up for you in that initiatory experiences to get to that point of, like, the archetypal story of the shaman in all different cultures is somebody that gets ripped apart, someone that goes into the underworld. They have to be completely torn to pieces, and then they have that choice. Am I going to put myself back together again and raise up out of this with this knowledge, like pulling that knowledge up out of the underworld and being able to transmute it and become the healer, become, self-responsible and accountable through that process, and come to a higher level of consciousness. And yeah, that's not an easy thing. It could take years and many, many different trials and tribulations before you get to that point. Look, I hope some people can get there quicker, but for me personally, it's been a huge journey. It's been massive. I've really had to put myself back together again, like from, some of the deepest, darkest, most intense, horrific stuff that I've experienced in my life. And but I'm grateful for all that, because if I hadn't have had that, I wouldn't be who I am, and I wouldn't know what I know and be able to do what I can do right now in this reality field. So yeah, it's a choice. How do we take those experiences? What do we do with them? We could stay in victimhood forever. We can stay in, poor me, and, oh, that was so hard and I'm traumatized and I'm just going to, distract myself and self-medicate forever. Or you can say, okay, I'm going to work with this and, contribute to the world through this knowledge, through these experiences. And yeah, that's a great responsibility. So yeah, I don't think shamanism, like, there's a big perspective in the society that shamanism is kind of like this love, light, rainbow, unicorn, magical just thing that you can do a course and you're a shaman. It's not that simple.
I mean, think about it. I mean, the shaman's death is experienced more than once in a lifetime.
Very Plutonian energy. Yeah, very scorpionic.
And so that aspect to the 8th gate, or then running to the 12th gate, is what we're on in context to the last video that I made with the sextile between Neptune and Pluto that's been going on since 1891.
Wow.
So this has been a cycle that's been taking place in context to these energies, these 8th and 12th gate energies, dealing with shamanic energies in context. and bringing in people coming into these transits, waiting for, I mean, sometimes people might have to wait 200, 300, 400 years just to get the right energies on the transit to come in on to do the work on. See?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, you're sitting here and you're just going, I mean, well, I know we're talking out of the box here in context, but look, I mean, that's what these transits are presenting, So, we're looking at a sextile, or, so Pluto and Neptune have been working with each other for quite a while now. And this last cycle started in the late 40s, and really kicked in 1950. But the energy was still there in the mid 40s and the late 40s, but the energy really started to kick into 1950. And this transit is from 1950 to 2032.
Wow. It's a long time.
So this is a very long transit that we're experiencing here in context. So this is where we're all coming in to do the work here. See? And so, looking at it in context, you start to realize that, how important it is to understand your solar spiral of creation within you. I mean, if you have to, that's, as far as I'm concerned, that is a prerequisite for going into the galactic stuff, because you can get lost in that galactic shit like that. And the next thing you know, man, you're just reeling with all the bullshit. I know I've seen people that were supposedly doing this work. I've seen them get raked out with all the galactic shit now, and talking aliens, Arcturians, and talking all these, all this shit, man, going on with it.
Another drug. I mean, I feel like, I don't know. It's like, why put so much emphasis on that? Like, you have your own energies to work with, as you said, as you guys are saying. Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking about the whole shamanic thing and the journey, and it is like a lifelong thing. And I'm thinking about not only working with the elements, but like the people around you, and knowing thyself first, but also simultaneously recognizing the energies that they're working with, and being able to cross-pollinate, between, going back to the whole Aquarian energy and networking, knowing what energies this person has, and then taking that message from them and pollinating this flower over here, and then, crisscrossing everywhere. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean,
it's going to manifest in people is what I'm saying, I guess.
A lot of part of the process. Anything burning on your heart, Jungle, about that you want to get into?
Burning on my heart. Just that I wish everyone well that is out there listening, and doing the work, and keep them motivated. Keep yourself motivated. Don't stop. And yeah, it's okay to take a rest, but know that there's 1,001 ways to distract yourself, and just know when to pull back and recalibrate, center, and stay in the circle, and draw the circle of the magician.
Good point. The circle of the magician can be drawn anywhere. In your imagination, it can be drawn anywhere. It doesn't have to be actual circle.
Right.
I mean, you can do it at work. You can do it, in the middle of whatever. You can stop and do it. Just draw it, and do it with your own imagination, and working with the ether aspect with that around you, and clearing things out. So getting into that practice and doing that practice is really good. I mean, I put myself there almost every morning before I start my day. One of my things is to get into that, and then and work with it. I drive. I like to drive when I'm doing it. That's part of my deal. And then as I'm doing that driving and I'm getting centered, I feel the release, and I can actually work with grids and do that stuff. And there's some days I don't work with grids, or some days I'm just processing, So getting into that, I just wanted to throw that out because it can be done anywhere. So
I actually have a question about that, because I know a lot of people struggle with finding the time, and it might be an elaborate process for certain people. I know for myself, I have an elaborate process. And if you're repeating a mantra or something like that 20 times or however many times, and you're combining, it's not just about repeating the mantra or whatever you're saying, it's also with intention. If you don't have the intention, then it's not as potent, I think, so I kind of obsess about that sometimes. Is there a way to like make it just as equally potent while not taking as long, or is it just like something you just got to carve out time, however much time you need? And
it's a lot about your intention, isn't it? And that focus and that intention. And I was doing it. I was at a festival recently, and I was in a crowd of thousands of people, and I felt all the different energies, and I went, I need to do the circle right now. And I just got in that state, and I was pushing the energy out, visualizing that bubble of energy or whatever works for you. And I just kept with that focus for as long as it took, until I felt like I was connected to the higher force and I wasn't feeling interfered by these other external energies. So yeah, that's a practical, situation where you can use it. You're in a crowd, in a bar, some kind of discordant energy place where there's a lot going on. You can practice that and find that field, find that bubble around yourself. And yeah, it doesn't have to be an elaborate ritual, but it is beautiful to do that elaborate ritual sometimes as well, and really making that time out to actually do it. But you've got to be flexible and adaptable to your situation.
Yeah.
And the ritual is, part of the process, to be able to actually have a space, that you can go to, that, that you've cultivated the energy in that space.
Mm-hmm.
By doing so, everything that you're working with is also, been cultivating the energy. So it is your space. And so, you build that energy within that space. So it's always there. So when you step into it, you're stepping into that same spot that you left, in a physical place. So it's always good to have like a physical, even if it's in your house or a room or outside, wherever, that you have a space that's sacred that you step into, that is cultivating that energy.
Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of weird because I do martial arts. I just want to add on the whole ritual thing, because when I'm doing my forms, I do them repetitionally, and that can become a ritual, and that can sort of cultivate that similar feeling of okay, now I'm protected. I'm like drawing the circle while I'm doing my forms. Is that even a possibility for you guys? Like, do you feel like that's something that's practical as well, or is it?
I do that as well. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, then
yeah, I've been using some of my qigong and Wing Chun form within the circle,
Yes.
and I find it really powerful. It gets me in that focused state.
Martial arts in the circle, man.
All right. Well, then, that's what works best for me, to be honest.
Yeah. Whatever works for you, man. I mean, that's what you use. So that's part of the process, of working with it, and I mean, look, man, we have to have these practices, man. We can't not integrate things, so these practices help us. They help us to, to integrate the energies. They help us to get downloads. They help us to open up our centers, our heart core intelligence, our third eye, our grounding, connecting the three, bridging the three, and then being able then to be in control of your own energy force, and that is the key, is staying in control of your own energy force and not letting it get hijacked by the pendulum swing to the masses, by the latest psyop, by the latest bullshit, by the latest alien shit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this is the challenge for all of us as magicians, is Magi's, shamanic energy, shamans, is to be able to stay in control of your energy force.
Yeah.
That's the deal. Because if you're not in control of it, something or someone else is.
Yeah.
It's just how it is.
So true.
So, my encouragement to everyone is this, is that whatever's going on in your life, whatever's happening, it's not as bad as you think it is. Number one, because we tend to exaggerate how bad things are. Number two, realize that this is a cosmic journey. This isn't a sprint to 50 yards to the outhouse. Okay, this is a cosmic journey that we're on. Okay, so we are seeding right now. We are seeding into this reality field right now for not only the next generation, and not only for their generation, and on and on and on, but we're also seeding, should we choose to, seeding into our next incarnation on this planet.
Oh yeah.
You got to remember this. This is a big picture. This is Piscean. Okay. Pisces is all about the big picture. So the big picture is just keeping that eternal perspective in mind while you're doing this path work, and realizing that eternal now, right now, is the co-creating moment that you have to create.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. This now eternal co-creative moment is the now moment, is the 0 point. And so, you realize that we're in the construct of time, and that is the Saturnian energies in context to Chronos. But what we're dealing with here is no time within ourselves, coming into the space of no time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Of the now eternal moment. And that is where the Jedi lives. It's not the Star Wars shit where they're all getting, all this drama shit. It's actually into this space where you are into that eternal now moment of perspective. And that's where you're wielding your energy force from.
Yeah. I often think about
so the biggest thing for me encouraging people is to, find a practice, that works for you. You can use a lot of these ones that we're talking about tonight. Find what works for you so that you can get centered, and so that you can, bring yourself into a place where you are in control of your own energy force. And that takes time. It takes discipline. It takes tenacity. It takes practice, all of this. And, you have to want it. You have to have a passion for this stuff, So that's my encouragement to everyone. Any other words, Tala, that you'd like to encourage people with tonight?
Yeah, just remembering also, like what you're saying, how integral the physical body is in all this, and that we need to take care of that. And that's a process too of healing, cleansing, nourishing our physical body, building up our strength. Because if we want to come to higher stages of consciousness, we need to master the physical body as well as the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, all these other aspects of self. Just seeing what a divine, incredible opportunity it is right now to be human on this earth, in these physical bodies, and what an incredible tool that is, and what we can do with that. It's unlimited potential, and we just got to keep remembering that, because there's going to be a lot of shit that's going to try and stop you from being in that. But yeah, we all have that potential, and just do that work and be kind to yourself and self-care, and we can all come into a higher place of consciousness and potential. If we do that. Yeah.
And anything you'd like to add, Jungle, and encouragement?
Yeah, sure. Just short and brief. Let's bring back the traditions of the old. Not all traditions are necessarily good, but the ones that we're talking about, the disciplines, the martial arts, the tarot, all the systems of gnosis. Let's bring them back and keep on doing what we're doing as Magi, as shamans, as Jedis, as Kung Fu masters, whatever you want to call it. Let's bring them back, because this is what is underlying the foundation of humanity, I think. And the new blood is coming in, and they're completely lost without all that stuff. They don't have that, they're like empty, they have a good brain maybe, but they don't have like any resources to kind of go off of. We're kind of like holding the torch, you know? So I think it's a huge responsibility.
Everybody's going to make their own choices. You know, so, you know, and so all we are, you know, is, and I say this on my videos all the time because it is the God honest truth. Our individual transformation is the gift to this planet.
Yeah.
And as we have our individual transformation take place, that is inputted into the collective consciousness, and you don't know what kind of impact that's having. Totally. We don't see it, you know.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's veiled, you know, we're not seeing it, you know. But I can tell you, man, the impact that your energy field has when you are connecting to the higher force, and you are, like we were talking about earlier, about, you know, feeling the earth, feeling the grids, feeling, you know, seeing it, stepping into that space. When you are in that space, the impact that that's having on the collective is very powerful. And we just don't know exactly how all that energy is being wielded out, number one, and number two, how it's affecting things. But I can guarantee you, you throw a pebble into a pond, that ripple is going to be felt through the whole pond.
Oh, most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
It's powerful.
yeah. So just keep that in mind, you know, when we're doing this work, that it is about, you know, the gift that we are here to bring is, you know, is our individual transformation.
Yeah.
And once you realize that you're not responsible for the masses or the collective, that's not your responsibility. That takes a lot of pressure off, man.
Yeah, it does. Couldn't have said it better.
Yeah. You know, so that's a freedom thing, man. You know, stepping into that aspect of that mindset, you know.
That's that sovereignty.
Yeah, there it is.
True sovereignty.
Yeah, and this is how religion's been thrown out in context, see, because that's the most powerful thing that you can do. But if someone's already done it for you, then, you know, what do you need to do it for, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just pass the buck. Or the galactics or whatever are going to do it, you know.
That guy did it, man. He died for that, so I don't have to do it, you know.
I don't have to do it.
I love that guy.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, it's you know, it's, you know,
Yeah, it's childish and
you know,
let's stop.
you know, the first time that I saw that, being in the church programming and having to get past the hell construct, because that's the energies that they use. They throw that hell construct out. You know, your eternal soul is on the line. You know, you know, your
Guilt and shame.
damnation is on the line. You know, if you aren't going to please,
Oh my gosh.
you're not going to please Jehovah. You know, by doing this one simple thing that he asks you to do. It's a condition. And it's one simple thing that he's asking you to do is just give your power away. That's it. And if you can do that, then you're in. See?
It's just crazy how much guilt and shame is used in every culture too. Like whether it's Catholicism that has its own culture, or like the Asian culture, or the Italian culture, or whatever, which is, you know, in
Right.
Catholicism. But it's guilt and shame. It's always guilt and shame to give your power away.
Yeah. Exactly. So you can kind of, once I saw that, I was like, oh my God. So it took a little while to get past the construct because it's so hammered into you.
Yeah.
You know, and so once you get past it and you see it, then that's when it gets dismantled, you know, and it's no longer running your system, you know. So, you know, and so you're carrying an authentic signature. See, frequency, you know. So, All right, everyone. I hope everyone enjoyed the kind of what we got into tonight, and you know, we are definitely here. You know, I'm here to help anyone that needs to, you know, has any questions or wants to get into any astrology or transits. www.hardcoreproductions.com. You can hit me up there, or you can hit me up on Facebook, Rodney Goodwin, or Hardcore Productions Facebook page as well. or email me at hardcoreproductions9@gmail.com. We can get into pretty much any system of gnosis or astrology aspects, or just talk or counseling or whatever, so, and we're all here to help, So Tala, do you want to kind of bring something up there about that?
I'm working on a book with a friend. We've been working on it for the last 6 months or so. And it's kind of about all this stuff. It's called Jedi. We're nearly finished. There's still a bit more illustration to do that I'm working on. But yeah, we've got a Facebook page called Jedi, spelt with the D. That stay installed for that. It might be a few more months to go, but that's coming out. And it's mainly for younger people. I want to help, influence the youth a bit with some good messages, because there's so much crap out there for young people. So yeah. But other than that, I've got a YouTube channel. I don't put a lot on there, but you're welcome to get a hold of me if you need. Anytime. Yeah.
Cool.
Definitely.
All right, Jungle, you got anything you want to say?
No, that's it. I mean, I'll have to send you the information later. Maybe you can link it in the description aspect.
Sounds good, man.
Yeah. Just check out Metaphysical Dynamics, as you guys already have heard, probably. Or if not, then it's Metaphysical Dynamics, spelled with a PHYZIKAL, and Dynamics is spelled with the X at the end. So.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll have the link down in the description. So I'll throw all the links down in there, so everybody can get a hold of us if they want to. So, okay. All right. Much love, everyone. Blue Pearl Oracle. We will see you down the road, and everybody just keep forging and let the fires of calcination burn within you, because that is the process that we're going through here. So everybody be ready for the phoenix to rise within your house. Okay. Much love, everyone.
It's been an honor. Thanks. Bye.
Good one.
Say